What is it with Texas politicians and the has-been rock guitarist Ted Nugent? Republican candidate for governor Greg Abbott has been campaigning with Nugent, and Senator Ted Cruz says he'll consider campaigning with him too. As far as I'm concerned, that's appalling. By now, you've probably heard what Nugent said recently about President Obama. But if not, let me play you the clip.
I have obviously failed to galvanize and prod, if not shame, enough Americans to be ever vigilant not to let a Chicago communist-raised, communist-educated, communist-nurtured, subhuman mongrel like the Acorn community organizer gangster Barack Hussein Obama to weasel his way into the top office of authority in the United States of America.
Somehow, Nugent managed to stick every paranoid right-wing rant against the president into one soundbite. But let's put aside politics for a moment and talk about journalists. Shouldn't journalists call this for what it is? Not some ramblings of a colorful Texas character, but hate speech. That's what it is. It's hate speech. One journalist did stand up this week, and I found what he said to be pretty inspiring. Here's what CNN's Wolf Blitzer said.
I mean, do they know the history of that phrase, subhuman mongrel? That's what the Nazis called Jews leading up and during World War II to justify the genocide of the Jewish community. They called the Jews Untermensch, or subhuman mongrels. If you read some of the literature that the Nazis put out, there's a long history there of that specific phrase that he used involving the President of the United States.
So why aren't more journalists showing some backbone, saying that this is not the time for objectivity, that there is nothing objective about ugly prejudice? Joining me now to talk about this, Christy Hoppe, the Austin bureau chief for the Dallas Morning News. Christy, thank you for joining me. One of my producers compared this to a television version of clickbait. You know, that it gets people to click the link, or in this case, watch the segment, but that it's not appropriate for journalists to be repeating and giving attention to. I mean, what do you say to that? Should journalists be calling this what it is?
I think it is important because to judge a politician, some of it is the company they keep. And I think Greg Abbott made a decision to appear with Ted Nugent for three reasons. Guns, guns, guns. He liked Ted Nugent's stance on the Second Amendment and thought it would highlight a difference between him and his opponent, Wendy Davis, who has a more ambivalent feeling about the Second Amendment than Greg Abbott does. His staff dropped the ball. They didn't look at Google. They didn't see these other statements by Ted Nugent, and they thought everybody would just look at the guns and not at the whole picture.
So you're saying it is deserving of attention because this leading candidate for governor is making it deserving of attention.
Right. The governor of Texas, and the next one, will be a national figure, just like Rick Perry was, just like George Bush was, just like Ann Richards was. They are the leader of a large, economically strong state that has a lot of pull in this nation, and they get a spotlight on the things they do. And Greg Abbott didn't expect the spotlight to spread as wide as it did when we were looking at Ted Nugent and who he chooses to appear with.
Have you seen any journalists in Texas take a stand here and speak out against this kind of language from Ted Nugent? Do you think more should?
I have seen columnists and editorial writers take very fierce stance. I mean, there's no doubt that when you call somebody a subhuman mongrel, that's a dog whistle of racism. And in a Republican Party that needs, especially in Texas, to reach out to the minority community and the growing minority community, and also in a governor's race where the suburban woman will be an important vote, this was a huge misstep. And I think that's one of the reasons it got so much attention. This was a fail.
In one of your stories, you quote Greg Abbott saying, "I don't think there is anybody in the state that is disliked more than Barack Obama." Abbott then shifting attention away from Nugent onto Barack Obama. Do you see any signs that the campaign regrets the appearances with Nugent? Are they backtracking at all from this?
Quietly, they feel like that it was a mistake. But at the same time, we're Texas. We like to say that, and things happen big here. And the truth of the matter is, politics in Texas has always been a contact sport. So, you know, we have big characters and big races and a lot of fur flying. So, yeah, we're used to some national attention.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing some of it with us.
Thank you, Brian.